Hey there, my name is Mark Nix and I'm one of the pastors here at Orangewood Church, and I am joined today with Tyler Groff, our new lead pastor, and his wife Rachel. And if we were under ordinary circumstances, people could get to know you in far more organic ways, but with social distancing, we're doing what we can. So we had people submit questions, and we probably won't get to ask all of them. We won't even have time to ask all of them, frankly. But we're going to ask you some questions, and just hopefully everybody will get to know you. So I wanted to start with just a really easy one. Which one of your kids do you like the least? Just kidding. Just kidding. I had to do that. So these first few questions, I want to hear from both of you. So think about when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I would say I wanted to be a professional ballerina. I took dance lessons for 8 years and started when I was 5, and that was my dream. I would tell everyone that when they asked me. I would say professional ballerina. That's what I wanted to do. My parents took me to the Nutcracker, and I saw a lot of Swan Lake and a lot of different productions, and it was my favorite, and I fell in love with it. So that was what I wanted to do until I was 14, and then I got more into music and piano lessons and voice lessons, and then kind of switched gears and I did music after that, and then I went into college in music. But I still miss it. But I remember when I was a little girl, that's always what I would say, professional ballerina. So that's what I wanted to be. Yeah, when I was a little girl.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when I think back on that question, I honestly never ever thought about what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like, I think I just loved being a kid and despised the idea of adulting. And even now, I don't like being an adult. But it's just this reality of, I just enjoyed being a kid. I never had, okay, what do I want to be when I grow up? I just wanted to be a kid forever. So for me, it was just a question that I didn't ask.
Was there a grown-up, even if it was a movie character, that was kind of like a grown-up kid that you wanted to be?
Oh, man. You know, I think the first thing that pops in my mind is Kevin Costner and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I just loved that movie, and maybe if I get older, I can be like him and take care of people and shoot my bow and arrow, which I did. I had a bow and arrow as a kid.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Rachel, I'm curious, since you danced for so long, do you still have dancing dreams? like where you're at a recital and you're like, oh shoot, I don't even know this piece.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think about it sometimes. I would love to take ballet lessons again, and just to remember. I was actually talking to Ellie Berry yesterday about it, and we were talking about some dance music, some ballet, French words together, what they're called, what all the moves and the turns and twists are called. And I was like, oh, I miss this. This is so good to talk about it again. But yeah, for sure. When I see ballet or just see dancing in general, I would say ballet. I'm not a good dancer, but ballet.
Yeah, definitely not a good dancer.
Yeah, I would say ballet, and I did some tap too. That I just love it. I just love the art form. So I would love to, I don't know, at least just get back into some lessons or something someday. So.
Yeah.
So is Tyler a good dancer?
He's a better dancer than me, that's for sure.
Yeah, but my brother got all the moves in our family.
Yeah, that's true.
The dance moves. I have nothing to offer the world in that category.
Well, we'll still take you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, I actually, it's not even so much that I can't dance, I don't dance. You probably will never see me
That's
dance.
Awesome.
Yeah, I do the dances that your kids get embarrassed by, in the house.
Right.
Gosh, Dad, stop.
Yep. So that was started off with you guys when you were kids, and one of the things that's a bummer is right now, while there's no O Kids and there's no nursery, your kids can't really come to church, but we still want to get to know them. So I was wondering, and you might need to put your heads together for this, but if you could tell us about your kids, who they are, how old they are, and at this point in their life, what they want to be when they grow up.
Wow.
You want to take it?
Yeah, you take it. Yeah, you start.
So Emery is our oldest. She also goes by Emmy. So if you want to call her Emmy, Emery, she goes by both. And she's 8, and she also loves dancing. So she did a year in like ballet and tap, and then she also did gymnastics. So I would say now like gymnastics is what she loves and what she's really, really good at. We just see her just doing moves at home and in the gym, and we're just like fascinated. We're like, she's so good. Like she's so limber and she's fast, and so that's definitely her gifting.
She talked some about, I know she talked about the cheerleading.
She really wants to try cheerleading, at Orangewood, and she really wants to do that. So that I would say that's kind of more her lane, is like the gymnastics, cheerleading. She loves all of that stuff, and she also loves art. So like, she loves drawing and coloring, and she's really good with all that, and just making new things and jewelry and things like that. So all girl for sure. She's for sure an all girl. Although she has 2 brothers, she has that tomboy side, but at the same time, she's for sure loves all the girly things. Do you want to take Lane, or do you want to?
Yeah, Lane is, I could see him being an engineer. I mean, he has a depth to him. He like wants to always figure out how things work, and he has been really into Legos and like putting Legos together, and like, but he knows, he thinks Lego. Like he thinks, okay, if I do this and I add this and I do that, and like he's made some things before, like, oh yeah, you have to, like, not from any instructions, like that he just made, and it's like, okay, if you do this and you put this, then this is like the key, and you got to put it in. It's perfectly built. So he's got a brain like about him of how things work, and like always wanting to know like why things are the way they are.
He loves the question why. He asks.
Yeah.
And tell us how old he is.
Lane is 6.
6 and he'll be 7 in September.
Yeah.
So what do you think he would say if I said, what do you want to do when you grow up?
That's a good question.
Right now, he would want to be a Jedi Master.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Or I would say last year was Power Rangers.
Last year's Power Rangers.
Yeah.
We've been watching Star Wars, the movies together, and yeah. So I think a Jedi Master
loves his lightsaber.
Would be his goal in life now. Yeah.
So are the Groffs Star Wars fans?
How do I put this? I love Star Wars, but I am not that fan.
I know exactly.
Does that make sense?
I thought I was a Star Wars fan until I met real Star Wars fans. And they start talking about non-canonical things, and I'm like, okay, I just think it's cool.
I don't even know what that means. I put it in the category of I love watching the movies.
Yeah.
They're great. I love them as a kid. I love them now. But I'm not going to the convention and wearing the Chewbacca suit. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But,
no offense to anyone
Lord
who does.
bless the people who do.
Lord bless them. Lord bless them. But that's just, And even this, I didn't even know about this non-canonical stuff. So,
there's all these, because there's like books and comic books and cartoons. And so it's like, well, is that canon or non-canon?
Yeah.
So
we've deviated.
Yes, we have.
Into
and we still have one more kid to talk about.
Yes, Caleb. Caleb, oh my goodness. So Caleb turned 4 in March, and he is his own person, that's for sure. He keeps us on our toes. He started walking at 8 months, and he did not stop.
No, he started running at 9 months.
He did, like running at 9 months.
Seriously, running at
8 months. So Tyler and I would say, like, for those first 2 years of his life, he didn't walk. Like, we would, you would hold him and you'd put him down, and it was like a wind-up toy. He would just run. Like, he would just run with no direction or no sense of direction. He would just run. And so he's very active, but now he's kind of slowed down a little bit as far as like the whole active thing. He's still very precocious, and he will get into lots of things, but he is really imaginative, and he loves to sing, and he loves music. So any kind of music that comes on, he'll just like stand there and just like listen to it. So it's pretty cool, and like he'll go on the piano and he'll like go. He'll say ABC, he'll sing the ABC song, and then like, and press like each key with it, which I think is pretty, just pretty cool.
Yeah,
so he loves music, but he is just, I don't know, might be an athlete, he loves Toy Story. So anything with Toy Story right now, if you talk to him about Toy Story, he'll tell you all about it. He even knows the lines in the movies. And he's just, he's a crazy but sweet little I always call him my baby, although he's not a baby anymore.
Yeah.
But he's just
Caleb is like having 2 kids.
Yeah.
It's probably the best way I describe it. And yeah, he could maybe be a musician someday.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
He's
see.
kind of always like he's in his own little world all the time.
Yeah.
He just kind of does his own thing. So, but yeah.
I like that. Well, I look forward to getting to know them.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
So, remember when date night used to be a thing? When like there were even
What is
like
that?
What is
you
this
could
thing
go
you
on
speak
date.
of?
Like so back pre-COVID-19, what would like a typical date night look like for Tyler and Rachel?
Well, the funniest thing is, just thinking about it the other day, we were talking, we were going, because Michigan had a very conservative process with COVID. We were kind of talking about, man, okay, a date night. I mean, gosh, when did we last have one of those?
I know.
Was
We
it
were
like
trying to think
March?
back.
January?
When did we last?
Now we tried to get creative during the COVID season, where we would get takeout from one of our favorite places, and
Yep.
we'd bring it home, and we'd tell the kids, listen, you are in your room, do not come out, we are having date night out here. We don't want to see you. and we'd like watch a movie and eat takeout together.
Yep.
That was our
That was
plan.
our- yep, that
But,
was
What kind
our
of
but pre
takeout
that,
would be like a go-to for you guys?
Well, I would say either this place called Barrio in downtown Plymouth in Michigan, and it was like street tacos. So tacos is our love language, or at least my love language. I love tacos and Mexican food. So tacos and like they're really good like salsa and guac and queso and like in street tacos. They
Yeah.
have this amazing like mahi fish taco. That's my favorite. So we did that a lot. And then the other thing we would do takeout is Thai food. We also love Thai food. So
Yeah.
we would do Thai food a lot, or Asian. So that would be our favorite. But like before then, yeah, I mean, we would try to get date nights in like once or twice a month, just to get out. 'Cause
every other week.
so we felt like, staying in we would just kind of resort just like watching TV or whatever and not really talking. And so like going out would like give us the opportunity to actually talk to each other and be like, okay, how are you doing? And let's give me an update on your life, or and how you're doing. So that was kind of what we found. Like I feel like our best conversations have come out of date nights, just because we're able to talk and have a conversation.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, hopefully you'll be able to find a rhythm here soon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
yeah.
like you have a church full of people that want to keep your kids, but it's in this weird time where it's like, I don't know if we can do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've already had several people, reaching out saying, hey, when you're ready, we're ready for you to be able to have a day night, which would, gosh, it sounds amazing right now.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long,
been a long time.
because of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, we're all in the same boat together.
Yep.
Yep. Well, you can always lock the kids in their room.
That's right.
So Tyler, I think most of us have heard some of your like academic path toward being a pastor, but when and how did you first feel called to ministry?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, hopefully I'm a person of hope for someone who never had that burning bush scenario, or that light on the hillside moment where it was just this all or nothing experience. For me, it was just this kind of ever evolving thing that I didn't have aspirations as a kid. We talked about already about what I wanted to be as an adult. But as I grew up, and then when I went in college, I was kind of thinking, hey, my dad was in sales. I'll probably end up in some sort of sales like him. But when I got to college, I had people who started saying, hey, Tyler, have you thought about ministry? Because I kept ending up in leadership roles. Like after I came to faith my senior year of high school, through Young Life, I was involved as a Young Life junior leader that my senior year. And then I went to college, and then I became a Young Life leader. And then I was helping start a college ministry where I was a leader for that. So it was like I kept being in these leadership roles. And really it was these outside voices that were the ones that said, I kept hearing them from multiple people saying, hey, have you thought about ministry? That it began to prompt me to begin to ask some of those questions of, hey, is this something I need to explore and think about? And so for me, the call of ministry was just this slow, evolving thing that I felt like it gained more steam as the years went by. And then, going to seminary, and then really feeling through the process of being in seminary and being in ministry, like being in an intern situation where I was like, I feel at this point in my life as called to ministry as I would to anything. And that kind of launched me out.
Yeah, so you kind of had to it was just like taking the next step.
It was just taking the next step. That's it. So in some ways, I'd give that as like a hope to someone who thinks like, gosh, well, do I need to have the burning bush scenario,
right,
or God speaks to me on the mountain? I never had that. I just took the next step. I had all the things that they would say you need to have, that external call and that internal sense, that internal call. I felt those lined up, but those were slow for me. That I worked through that,
right.
And but for me, that was kind of how my call to ministry took place. It was kind of this slow, evolving thing through my college years, and even into when I got to seminary.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
So Rachel, when you guys were dating and getting married, was he already on that trajectory toward being Pastor Tyler?
He was, yeah. We met in LA when he was in seminary out there through my brother. And so for sure he was in that trajectory.
You almost didn't want to date me.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny though, because I always kind of thought that I would, and I wanted to be, I had a desire to be in ministry in some capacity. And I thought that, maybe being a pastor's wife would be be one of those, but I don't know. I always kind of thought of seminary dudes a little bit nerdy, and a little bit so, that's all they could talk about. And
well,
that
they're
kind of
definitely
thing,
pastor wife stereotypes.
Yeah.
I told one of my best friends, when I was getting ordained, and he said something like, so is Brandy going to start wearing only denim skirts that she made herself,
Yes,
and, stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. So, I think I just had to break down all those stereotypes and stuff, and then really get to know him. So that was, when we first started talking, that was February of 2007, and I was still in college. I was my senior year in college, and I was the first time we talked for 4 hours on the phone straight, and that's when I knew. I was like, oh wow, I could really be friends with this guy. We can really start becoming really good friends. And he's, he talks about things other than theology or the nerdy stuff. So we developed that friendship first. So yeah.
Yeah.
So now that you are this side of it, are there things you've enjoyed about being a pastor's wife?
Yes, yeah. I think, going back to what I was saying about, always kind of feeling this call, this pull to ministry, I definitely felt like I always wanted to, whoever I ended up marrying, I wanted to be in ministry with that, or just serving with that person in ministry. And so I think that's my favorite part of a pastor's wife, is to come alongside of him and just support him, just be that support role. Because I think that that is, that's just my favorite part, I guess, if that makes sense. Just kind of being your support and being kind of in it together and walking through it together. And relationships are also probably, my other favorite part is just relationship building and just getting to know people, and be able to get to know people together. And so that's probably my favorite part. Yeah.
Well, hopefully you haven't been in that role here long enough for there to be lots of challenges. But when you guys were at Ward, were there things that you found challenging about it?
Yeah, for sure. I think I would say the fact that a lot of people know who you are, but not really know you, really know you. And so I had one, this is a funny story. I had one instance where we had just moved there, and this was like 3 months in, and I just I was pregnant with Emmy, and I was telling my friend this over coffee at Panera Bread one morning, and I was working at the music studio there, I was teaching, and I went to Ward for the recital afterwards, and this lady comes up to me. I have no idea who she was, and she was like, I just want to let you know, congratulations on your pregnancy. We're so happy for you. And I was like, I don't know who you are. Like, what are you talking about? And she was like, well, I wanted to let you know, I was at Panera Bread this morning, and I overheard your conversation with your friend. And I was like, oh, okay. And so she was like, but I'm not going to tell anyone, but I just want to say congratulations. So that was kind of like the first, like, oh my word, this
You're
is
like,
crazy. Yeah, thanks. But thankfully I didn't really have, that was just one, I didn't really have a lot of those situations or whatever. But just kind of, that whole, like, people know who you are, but they don't really get to know you, I guess, on a deeper level. And so, there's always that balance, I would say, just that balance of, like, wanting to be real and authentic to people, but also, like, wanting to find this balance of, like, protecting my husband as a pastor to people, and, like, finding that balance. And I think it's important to find that group, that safe group, that safe, that can be safe for you, and that you can just say anything, and it can, it's a group of safe people. And so I found that in Michigan, and I'm hoping to find that here. And
I really hope that you do.
Yeah, for sure. So that's, I would say, is the challenges, trying to find that balance.
Yeah. And I felt like a real sense that I'm valued as a person of Orangewood, not just the pastor of Orangewood.
That's right.
And I've really found that already in the very early weeks here. So that's been wonderful.
Well, I'm glad. Brandy and I experienced that here as well.
Yeah.
Just really warm people.
Yeah, for sure.
So Tyler, this is a bit more of a heavy question.
Sure.
Obviously, our nation is just in a lot of social unrest. It's in our face constantly, and probably should be, that there's so much racial tension. And you've already spoken to it some. I think a lot of people have gotten to see the conversation that you had with Michael Aitchison. But one person asked a question, and I thought it was a really poignant question. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think Jesus would be doing in response to the racial injustice in our country?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that Jesus, more than any human, fully human, fully divine, more than any human that has ever lived, Jesus lived in full obedience to the will of the Father. And one thing that becomes very clear if we allow ourselves to see it is this sense throughout the Bible, this sweeping picture of God's restorative justice. God looking to set things right. God looking to wipe away all tears. That we're called to be the people who step into the places where things are not set right, and to be his ambassadors, to be his people of hope, and to fight for those whose voices have been silenced. And into this conversation, like, I don't know how to speak exactly, okay, what exactly would Jesus do? But the one thing I do see is, like, all through his life, Jesus fought for the child. Let them come to me. When in a culture, children were considered an afterthought. We love them today, but in that first century, I mean, it was, you could kill the child if you wanted to, but he said, let the children come to me. There was value in them. He met the woman at the well, who went in the middle of the day, and every commentator would tell you she's there in the middle of the day because she's been ostracized by the community for her life that she's lived, for the fact that she's a Samaritan. Everything about that story is telling us that she has become ostracized and isolated, and Jesus is meeting with her. He's caring for her. And so we see the stories throughout the Bible that Jesus longed to be the voice to say that you matter, that your life matters, that who you are matters, and nothing keeps you from the kingdom, whoever you are. And so I think for us, the question is, I keep asking myself is, okay, God, how do you want me to play my role in this? And I think right now, as a 38-year-old white man, like I need to be in a posture of listening, listening to the stories of my brothers and sisters who have faced pain and isolation their entire lives. And not only their entire lives, if you listen to them, it's the stories of generations of their parents and their grandparents and the history there. There's so much. So I think just for me, constantly coming back to this place of God, allow me ears to listen and to mourn with those who mourn, and however to use my voice to be a catalyst for their voice being heard. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think that when I look back, I mean, we just found out today that the interview with Michael just passed 10,000 views. Like, there's something there that people are wanting to hear, and I think my role in the season, just like with Michael, Pastor Michael, was just to say, hey, let's create a space where you can hear from him and to hear his voice and to hear what he has to teach us. And I'm so thankful for Michael because, one, he offers us a voice from inside the Black community, but he offers this great theological perspective as well. That he calls us back to the gospel, to a Christ-centered way of life, and what that means for us as we move forward as a nation.
And anyone who knows him knows, even though he offers that inside voice, it's not a voice of hostility toward those who are outside.
Yes, right.
That's what I've really appreciated about him. So this is similarly related. If you know much about Orangewood's heritage and history, then you probably know that Orangewood has historically been very mission-minded. So thinking about minorities here in our nation is something that's in our face, but I also wanted to hear what your heart is for the nations, what your heart is for missions.
Yeah. Well, coming from the denomination that I was a part of, the EPC, Evangelical Presbyterian Church, Ward Church that I served on staff with, was part of starting that denomination. And one of the core tenets and principles of the denomination was a very large picture for the nations and for the gospel. And even at Ward, that was a large part of our budget there, is how are we involved? How do we have these ministry partners that we're working with to bring the gospel across the world? And so for me, I think my heart is for the nations. It's for just that the gospel would go out. The gospel that is for me as a Christian to hear every moment of every day, my need for Jesus, for the skeptic in Orlando to hear their need for Jesus, and for the world, whoever you are, and for the places in the world where the gospel has not come or they have not heard yet. And so even on my app, I have a little, the unchurched peoples of the world, and I'll click on that from periodically and just pull up who's the people group of that day, and I just pray for that people group. Just recently, the Malay of Indonesia were the people group. 0% evangelical Christian, 1.2% Christian presence in a population of 3.15 million people.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and so just, God, would you come here? God, would you move? God, would you send your messengers? God, would you open eyes and hearts to hear the message of Jesus? So I think that's probably as best as I could say to my heart for missions, that the great work that has been a part of Orangewood's history, that our longing is that it is absolutely part of our future.
I think that's very encouraging.
Yeah.
So, Rachel, I want to ask you some questions, and I thought about asking you this question, but I actually want to ask Tyler this question. When you think about how Rachel is uniquely gifted, what would you say? What are her gifts?
Yeah, so I was thinking about it earlier. I didn't want to interrupt her when she was talking about ministry, but in a lot of ways, Rachel brings a great depth of wisdom, a great ability to connect, to include, to one of the things Rachel loves the most is like one-on-one conversations where she can just go deep and unearth who this person is before her. Is that fair to say? Yeah. Like nothing there are times at night where she's come home from being with someone and they are out till 12:30 talking about whatever. I'm already asleep, and she wakes me up to tell me about this amazing conversation, and then she can't go to sleep for the next hour or two because she's been so hyped up by that experience. Rachel just loves people. She loves people. She loves them well, infinitely better than I do. But she just truly, genuinely loves people and wants to know them and to serve them. And so I think you can, that great passage in the Bible, wisdom is vindicated by her children. This idea of like, when you look at the lineage you can see the output. I think if you look at Rachel's life, you see these people in her life who she's touched and transformed and poured into, and they're longing to stay in touch. And frankly, I mean, us coming back to Orlando, Rachel has kept up relationships here over 10 plus years after we moved away that are just picking up right where they left off because of these great qualities that she brings to relationships and friendships. And it's areas that I really need to learn to grow in. And so we've talked about that some, but those are some of her just really great qualities that she brings.
So it sounds like you're an extrovert.
I am, yes. Yeah. I think I am.
Yeah.
I am, right? Yeah. Okay.
And of course, extrovert doesn't mean you're the life of the party, but if you come home at 12:30 and you feel energized from having just engaged with somebody,
you know, it's interesting. I think if there is like, if you would say I'm like a one-on-one introvert, if that's even a thing, I would say that.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know if I would come home from like a big party and be energized, but I think I would come home from like a small group conversation or like a one-on-one energized.
One person to four people.
I think I'm with you on that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what was it like to hear Tyler saying all that about you?
It's hard. I have a hard time accepting any praise in general, but thank you for those words. I mean, I would say it's hard to accept words, but at the same time, I think that we complement each other well, and that he is. So on the flip side of that, I can kind of talk to the negative of that, is where like I can sometimes put too much stock in relationships, and I can basically find my worth in what people think about me. And so with Tyler comes along and really helps me with that, because I can really mull over conversations and just like over and over again be like, is she mad at me? Did I say something? Going on and on about it. And he's like, just let it go. Just let it go. They're not mad at you. Just let it go. And so he's really good about just finding those balances between in friendships and relationships. Like he has like good boundaries with relationships where I don't as much. And so he's really good about helping with that. Just be like, just let it go, and it's okay. They'll be okay if they're upset. If you didn't do anything wrong, that's on them. That's their issue. And so he's been even helpful for sure.
Yeah.
In that, so that we complement each other in that way.
I tell Rachel this periodically. She is the most beautiful person I know inside and out. So having been married to her over 12 years now, there is this very sweet spirit in her that really loves people. And of course, we all know like there's the strengths and weaknesses to that, but I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. So basically, your sermon on words just played out like it was hard for her to receive.
Yes, it's
praise.
true.
Yeah.
Well, when he talked about that on Sunday about like sitting in it for 15 seconds, that was I really took that to heart, because I was like, I need to do that. I need to sit in positive, those positive words for it to really like flood over me, and we're
gonna have 15 seconds of silence now and just stare at Rachel.
I want you to get this.
So uncomfortable for me.
Okay, we won't do that.
Sounds good.
So, Rachel, I'm trying to decide. I have two questions, and I feel like they're related, but I probably shouldn't even say that. Okay, I'm going to ask you this question first.
Okay.
So I'm a mental health counselor, and I'm not about to ask you about like your relationship with your mom or something, but a lot of times when I'm talking to clients and they can't figure out what self-care would even look like for them, or like they have so little margin that they don't even know what they would want to do that would be life-giving or restful or fun for them, I'll ask a question. So I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
If you had a 3-day weekend,
Okay.
Tyler and the kids weren't there, what would you do with those 3 days?
Like going anywhere or staying home or?
I usually say not like going to Colorado or something. Like, let's say you're here.
Like here in Orlando.
And let's say COVID-19 is not a thing.
Okay. I do love to be pampered. So I would do like a spa day one day.
I guess money is not an issue either.
If money's not an issue.
Carte blanche.
Okay. If money's not an issue, yeah, for sure. A spa day,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's okay.
Yeah, I love getting pedicures and all that, massages and getting all that. But also, I would say like that for one day, and then like being outside the rest of the days. Like I love being at the beach, love sunshine, love being at the beach. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say that for sure.
With friends.
With friends,
Yeah,
yes.
I was gonna ask.
With the beach.
That's-
Oh yeah, I don't.
She wouldn't want to be by herself.
I don't want to be. I would say if I had like a day to myself, I think I would love that. Like just a day. And actually, before I have a spa day, I would want to clean my house from top to bottom. I know that's weird, but I actually find a lot of joy in cleaning by myself. I know that's weird.
You can
but
hang out at our house anytime you want to. We will clear out of there and just let
Sounds
you
good.
go to town.
I'll just come and go to town. Yeah, I think I would clean and then like go to do a spa day and then and then the next day go to the beach. Or I love live music. So just anywhere where there's live music, just sitting down and listening to live music.
What's your favorite, like if you could, let's say like any artist,
That's so
orchestra, band were coming to town and you could go, like what, you don't even
so
have to
hard.
say like an artist, but like what
Yeah.
sort of music do you
Yeah.
really
Aside
enjoy
from
seeing?
Cool Hand Luke.
Aside from Cool Hand Luke, obviously.
Obviously. That is so hard for me because there's so much music that I love. I'm so eclectic with music, but what would you say?
I think Coldplay.
I would say I love Coldplay.
Have you seen Coldplay?
I have not seen him live, and that's one of my dreams is
Okay.
to see him live. Yes.
I've seen them 3 times, and I've got a cool story that I'll
Okay.
tell you when everyone else isn't
Okay.
watching
Yes,
online.
I would love to hear that. So, but I mean, there's so many. I can't even. Johnny Swim is another one that I'd love to see live.
My friend plays guitar for them.
Wow. Well, give me the connection.
Yeah.
Go.
We'll talk later.
We'll talk later. Yeah, but there's so many.
So, similar.
Yeah.
What are you passionate about? And I know that could mean a lot of different
Yeah,
things, but
for
a lot
sure.
of times, like it's funny because when I ask like teenagers what are they passionate about, they just tell me what they do. Like,
Yeah.
well, I play tennis. I'm like, okay, but what are you passionate
It really
about?
gets you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really good. I would say a couple of my passions are, for one, it's always been music ministry, like worship music, and leading worship, whether it's like leading it or going to, worship concerts or worshiping. That's like one of my my biggest passions. My other passion is teaching music. I just I just find so much joy in teaching music, whether it's teaching piano, teaching voice, teaching theory. I just love it. I feel like it's another language, and it's a universal language, which is pretty cool. And so I love teaching that. And then I would also say I've always had a heart for just like battered women and women who have have gone through really hard times, and I've always had a heart for like counseling at the Crisis Pregnancy Center and doing that. And I haven't had an opportunity to do that yet, but I've always wanted to do that. and just any form of just counseling. And we did like a marriage. We counseled a couple that Tyler married a couple years ago. Just did like some marriage counseling with them, and that's like I really just loved that. And yeah, so I would just say anything like relationship driven is what really I just really feel alive, and it gives me so much life when I have those like soul conversations with people, and I'm able to kind of get into a deeper level with them. And thought about counseling, so we'll have to, Tyler and I have talked about that, maybe in the future going back to school and doing that, but we'll see.
Coldplay counseling, we'll talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you heard about our missions partners in Greece and the trips that we go on?
A little bit.
We've got to get you over there,
Yes.
because one of the big ministries over there is ministering to trafficked women.
That's awesome. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing
Yeah, it's
for
a big
Rachel.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
So I'd love to hear, I've just got a couple more.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from both of you. I could make this broad, but I'll make it narrow for the sake of time. A person who has been really influential in shaping who you are.
Can you go first?
I was hoping you'd go first.
Oh man. Okay. I know I've thought about this. This is always a hard one for me because I feel like there's so many people that have been influential in my life in different stages. But I just have to keep going back to my dad. I'm not gonna cry, but I might cry. But I feel like my dad is just someone who like listens without any agenda. And he always, ever since I was a little girl, whenever I would we'd be at the dinner table and I would start talking, he would like stop eating and just look straight at me in the eyes, eye contact, and just listen to me. And that at first made me really uncomfortable because I was like, stop looking at me, like just, or like you're so intense when you look at me. But now I have grown to just have so much respect for that because I feel like we live in a culture that people just don't know how to listen very well. And I think that we listen a lot with agendas attached to it. And like, we listen with like, what am I going to say next? Or like we think about what we're going to say next. But I think with my dad, he just always just listened to me and my heart. And he still does. And so I just always go back to him, and I've always just admired a lot in him and respected him a lot. So, but I would say like so many people throughout my life, I mean, from, people, friends in college and friends now, and just have shaped me with their wisdom and different ways of seeing things. And so yeah, it's a hard one for me to say. But,
yeah, I get it. I mean, just as you were talking, I thought, man, I hope that my kids would say that about me someday.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. And I had to meet your dad, Mark, right?
Yes, Mark.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed talking
Great.
to him for a little bit.
That's great.
Yeah.
What about you, Tyler?
Yeah, in some of those same ways. Yeah, just they're different people at different stages of your life. But I think, in a lot of ways, I've been really shaped by just some particular authors that have kind of been in my journey, have come along. Dallas Willard, for me, was a really important voice for me. I think, and maybe it just, the seasons of ministry like that I had gone through, like personal seasons of ministry, some seasons of like pain and having to work through some stuff. I found him just this refreshing voice that I needed in that season of my own formation as a pastor, how important that is. How my emotional health is important to the congregation that I serve, and so just all these stories of people who would talk about him and how he lived his life were just super inspiring to me. Of okay, I know this is just a man who has fallen and broken just like me, but someone to emulate. As Paul said, emulate me as I emulate Christ. And so Dallas Willard was just a huge voice for me. And then just along the way, pastors and mentors, my pastor from North Carolina, Paul Phillips, even here when we were in seminary, the first time we were in Orlando, we attended Lake Baldwin Church, and Pastor Mike Tilley and his wife Molly, we had dinners with them, and they just poured into us and made time for us. And now as a pastor, I look back and go, wow, he could have spent his Friday night like doing something he enjoyed, but he made time to invest in us. And what a privilege.
Which was clearly not enjoyable.
Well, I mean, that's, I think probably less enjoyable. It's like, for him of, what he could have been doing, it's like, oh, I've got this seminary guy and his wife, but they were just so kind to us with their time, and just really felt just, I don't know, I look back on my first, few years of ministry, I'm only 38. I just feel so blessed, like, to have these great people who've poured into me and encouraged me. And I know there's horror stories that people have of their experience. I'd be remiss not to talk about Scott McKee, who was my senior pastor at Ward. Just his love for me, his encouragement of me. When I was 35, he came to me and said, "Tyler, you're ready. So whenever the time comes, I'm going to celebrate you, and I'm going to celebrate the time we had together. And every day from now until the time that you leave, I'm going to count as, just a blessing." And so I've just felt encouraged in my ministry. And I know these days won't always be this way, but I've just had a wonderful ministry experience, and Orangewood has just been amazing to us throughout these first couple weeks.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
So if someone wasn't familiar with Dallas Willard, is there somewhere you would tell them to begin, a certain book?
Yeah, I'd actually tell them to not begin with Dallas Willard.
Okay.
Because Dallas was a philosophy professor at USC, at University of Southern California. And it takes a lot to mine his books. But John Ortberg was a pastor, an author in California who studied under Dallas. And basically all of John Ortberg's books he says, I'm writing Dallas for dummies. So so I'd actually tell you, don't start with Dallas. I would actually tell you, start with a book. I try to read at least part of it every year, is a book called Soul Keeping. Okay. Caring for the most important thing about you, which is your soul.
I was second that.
Yeah, and so Rachel has tried to, so I try to come back to that book as often as I can. And what's great about the book is John Ortberg tells some stories about Dallas, so you get a little bit of a picture of who he was, how his life was shaped, and then he shares about caring for your soul, caring for this piece of who you are as a person, and how do we avoid living a hurried life? Dallas. John Ortberg shares a story in the book about how he had left the church he was serving at in California and went to this extremely large church in the U.S. Many people, if I said it right now, would know it. John Ortberg went there to be on the staff, and he gets there, and of course his life just is out of control. Meetings every night, all this being asked of him, and he calls Dallas and he says, "Hey Dallas, what do I need to do to get on top of everything?" And Dallas said, "You need to ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life." And then John said, "Okay, yeah, that would be great, but right now there's a lot going on." He says, "There's nothing else you need to do. Just you need to ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life." How do we live with a hurried soul? And God invites us to live life with Him in His kingdom and to experience the easy yoke. And so I'd encourage people to check out that book, Soul Keeping by John Ortberg.
So I've got a quick, lighthearted question for both of you. It's a specifically Orlando question.
Okay.
Disney, Universal, or SeaWorld?
Oh, wow.
That's so hard. So I would say when we lived here before, we did not have any kids. So we definitely just did Disney. We did like Epcot and stuff like that.
We should have done Universal.
But we should have done Universal. Why didn't we do Universal?
Well, because we had free tickets. We had free tickets. And I'm in seminary, which means we have no money.
Yes.
Right.
So we did what we could.
So that's what we did. We had free tickets and we would go to Disney. But I don't know. I really want to do Universal. We have never done Universal.
It's better now than it was when you guys were here.
Really?
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was pretty
That's
good.
what-
I
that's what
remember
we've
hearing
heard.
when we were here.
Yeah. And then our kids have gone to SeaWorld and they loved it. And I have yet to go with them. They went with my parents when we were here, but I don't know. What would you say?
I'm really worried to answer this question because it feels like a loaded landmine. Like if I choose the wrong answer,
gosh.
You
the
guys are
floor is
being
gonna-
way too pragmatic, just gut level, like, I want to go to Universal.
I mean, I always say with my kids, Disney, probably for my kids. Like, but SeaWorld's so good too.
I'd want to go to Universal if it was just
Okay.
me.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
What about you? Can we
There we
ask
go.
you the question?
Yeah. Brandy and I had Universal passes for a couple of years, and there's some new stuff since we didn't have those. But I feel like there's still a ton of stuff I haven't seen at Disney. Like I haven't seen the Star Wars
The
stuff,
Star
and
Wars,
the Avatar
yeah.
stuff. So I'd probably do Disney.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
So last thing, the whole point of this is people getting to know you, and one glimmer of hope on the horizon is it's been rumored that you guys might visit some community groups, be
Yeah.
that via Zoom or actually going to a community group. Is that something you think you might do relatively soon?
Yeah, we've already started the process with Pastor Chuck, kind of working out. I think our goal is going to be one per week of trying to connect with over the summer, and just spending time with that community group. And so yeah, so that's already in the works. We don't have the schedule formulated yet, but yeah, we're going to be connecting with groups here very soon.
Well, that's great. We are all so excited to get to know you guys, and I'm sorry that it's such a strained, weird way that we have to do it, but I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedule to answer these questions, and I'd love to pray for you guys just to finish our time together.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Mark.
Mark.
God, thank you so much for the Groff family and all the things that have happened in their life to lead them to this point. It has just been tangible, the excitement that our congregation feels to have them here. And I pray that they would feel loved. I pray that, like Rachel was saying, that she would find who her safe people are here, that you would give them community, that they wouldn't just be like Orangewood celebrities and feel isolated and alone, but I pray they could truly feel loved and known and part of the community here. And Lord, we pray your protection because we know the enemy hates their marriage and does not want it to succeed. And the enemy does not want Tyler to lead well and does not want his relationship with you to continue growing. And so we pray your protection on them. I pray that you would give us wisdom to know how we can come alongside them and love them and encourage them. Thank you so much for their kids and how you've, even at such young ages, knit unique little personalities and things that they are interested in and talented in. And I pray that Orangewood and Maitland would be a place that they could grow and thrive and that they would find friends and come into their own here as well. Thank you so much for this time. I pray that it would be a blessing to all of our community. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So,
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining us.